I was a massive Aliens and Predator fan as a kid. I had so many action figures, but the one that I loved the most, the one that I saved up for myself, was the Hot Toys Alien from the 2004 AVP film. I actually only managed to get the limited edition brown one, which doesn't even appear in the movie. But I remember waiting at that door for the delivery and unboxing that figure and that fresh smell of Chinese plastic hitting my nose. I must have been about 13 years old, just old enough for that era of toys to be coming to an end, but still young enough for this to feel like a proper event. And oh my God, did I love that figure. Now, it wasn't actually an action figure, but I didn't care. I still used to try and use it, like when I posed it on all fours, trying to recreate scenes from the movie with my massively undersized NECA Predator figures. And I didn't really care about the scale. I just loved me some Xenomorphs. And I know that the 2004 film gets written off by a lot of fans, but honestly, maybe it's a generational thing, like the Star Wars prequels. I really like that movie. The Celtic Predator, that one with the cool biomask, still remains my favorite Predator design to this day. For me, AVP 2004 was both franchises at their visual peak. Just an absolutely easy to watch popcorn film, and I will die on that hill. Now, Aliens vs. Predator 2010, the game, arrived at a very specific moment in my life. My mum and dad had just got divorced, and my mum and I moved from where I'd grown up in Gloucestershire, in kind of the southwest of the country, further south down to Somerset. So it was a new area, new school, and I was moving from a private school to a public school at 12 years old, coming up to 13, and it was scary stuff, man. And I remember my first ever lesson was PE, physical education, and we were out on the tennis courts, and I was just plonked in a group right at the end of the courts of boys who just so happened to actually become my best friends at school, and a couple of them are actually still my closest friends to this day. And I always wonder what my life would have looked like if I had been put in a different group. But one of them was actually in my tutor group, which, if you don't know, is basically the group that you do all of your classes with when you're first starting secondary school or high school, whatever you want to call it. And this friend of mine, we bonded immediately over gaming. And this game, which I introduced him to, AVP 2010, I showed him all the trailers. I had magazine articles that I cut out and showed him. And, you know, things were a little bit more analog back then, so you weren't just on YouTube showing him all of the stuff. There was actual physical stuff that you could bring into school and show on break or lunch. This was in that pre-cynical gaming world, right? The word flop was simply not in our vocabulary. Partly to do with the fact that we were just very young teenagers, or partly to do with the fact that the gaming landscape hadn't really gone into that area yet. So you saw something and you got hyped and you counted down the days, and that was it. And looking back now, obviously I can see how innocent it was and how lucky I was to find someone that was that into gaming as I was. And it's funny, I was actually on Discord with him as I was writing this script, which is, you know, a very full circle moment. There's this memory I keep coming back to. It was the summer holidays after I'd finished my first year in secondary school. So we used to go to Tenerife semi-regularly when life was a bit more simple and it was a bit more affordable. And we used to stay in this super fancy hotel right by the coast. And this wasn't one of those sightseeing city break holidays. This was an all-inclusive sit by the pool, jumping in and out of it, drying off on a sun lounger and playing PSP or reading a book or playing on my Nintendo DS or playing on my Game Boy Advanced SP. And just completely soaking up the sun. And then you'd go back to the room. It was one of those amazing days that we all have on holidays. You go back to the room and you're all red-faced from the sun, and then you shower and you get into your nice evening wear, and that smell of after sun is just hitting your nose. And we would sit on the balcony, my cousins and I, we would sit on the balcony while we waited for our parents to get ready, and we'd play Ben 10 Top Trumps, and we'd look through magazines. And you didn't know it then, but those were some of the best memories you'd ever make. And I was the oldest of the cousins, so I was the one who was always distributing the hype. And I remember so clearly sitting on that balcony with my PlayStation magazine, double page spread for the AVP 2010 game, with the image underneath the article being a Marine. I remember this so vividly. It was a Marine just looking completely terrified with a predator's claws just about to get him. And that image is so iconic to that era of my life. It's really, really fond going back and thinking about it. As ironic as it is, having this scared Marine in my mind's eye. But becoming an alien or a predator in this game was the complete dream of mine. I adored Predator Concrete Jungle for that exact reason. And when I pictured what this game was going to be, I imagined being that hunter in the jungle, traversing through the trees, or being an alien and crawling through the dark, stalking Marines one by one, taking them out as the alien did in the original film. And just being feared and kind of creating your own stories in this world. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to create my own alien film or my own predator film. And I guess that's the fantasy that I took from these trailers and from these articles that my 13-year-old brain could not wait for. So when the game finally released, of course, again, similarly to Brink, I was underwhelmed and I was a bit let down. I found that the stories, they were very, very linear and quite shallow. And I guess, like I said, I wanted that immersion. AVP was very, very linear. It just kind of put you in the game and told you which direction to go. And there wasn't that freedom. There wasn't that living and breathing. And you never really got to feel like you were one of those races, right? So back then, with that childhood gaming drive, I genuinely wish I still had. That distraction mattered massively. So I do love a linear game nowadays, and sometimes it's exactly what I want. When you're thrown into a big open world nowadays, it's kind of like, oh my God, there's a million different quest markers here. Where the hell do I start? And sometimes that linearity is just so refreshing to go in and go from A to B. But when I was a kid, I wanted to just make my own stories and kind of live and exist in these worlds. But that's not the end of the story. Years later, on PC, this game found a different life for me and all of the boys. We picked it up on Steam, and what we would do was jump into private lobbies and play the infestation mode, which is the mode where one player gets randomly selected to be an alien, and then he has to hunt down and slowly kill all of the different Marines. And when you die as a Marine, you come back as an alien and join, that game mode. It's in a lot of different games, not just this one, but anyway, it was absolutely fantastic. It was intense and hilarious, and our favorite map was the temple map, which was actually an homage to the AVP 2004 film that I mentioned at the beginning. It basically shifted every couple of minutes, which would block exits and open up new paths. And me and Matt, my friend from the tutor group, we had this thing, right? We always loved the idea of the coward. The guy in the film who shuts the door on his friend and leaves the team for dead, sacrifices someone else to buy himself another 30 seconds. We always thought it was funny and hilarious. And when a game could actually let us do it, when that temple door started sliding shut and you had a choice, God, did we milk it every single time. No hesitation. I'd run through and let that door shut on him and then hear the alien get him behind me. That was so much fun. And another thing was that Celtic's mask was actually unlockable in multiplayer. So that was another good thing to chase. It's the only mask I ever wore. I remember you unlocked it quite early on, but the whole time I would play with that Celtic. And I think there was also an alien skin that was an homage to the grid alien in AVP 2004 as well. So the fact they put those details in really was something that I loved. But it's kind of a shame that the game was first person only, because we never really got to see those cool kind of cosmetics that you equipped back in the days, again, where you would unlock it through gameplay rather than a battle pass or DLC. God, I sound like such a grandpa, but man, it was a better time. So for me, Aliens vs Predator 2010 was a popcorn flick of a game. At the time, yeah, it was a little bit disappointed, but in the current gaming landscape, I just miss these games, man. And I've been in a very reflective period of my life lately, and I found myself diving back into that time of my life, the early 2010s. That transition away from the life that I knew with my mum and my dad to the life that I've known since, which has just been me and mum and my friends from Somerset and eventually London, where I am today. It's a weird feeling. But that time, 2010, the new school, standing on the edge of a new generation of gaming, that last period of playing with toys, and that playing with toys slowly becoming playing with video games to fulfill the same imagination fantasies. Yeah, it's melancholy to reflect on, but there is a deep fondness and warmth and nostalgia there, and I'd do it all again.